Hello, I hope this is straight. I'm back out in the garden right now just because I feel like I need it. The last update that I gave you, we had just put in an offer on this home and I was really excited and had my hopes up, and they declined our offer. And the reason they declined it is because of the closing date. It was a little too far out, but that's because the offer that we accepted gave us a little bit of time to find a home, but at the same time, we don't close until nearing the end of the year. And the home that we wanted to buy, even though it was a fixer-upper, it was at a really good price, so we were just scared that it would go pretty fast. Hold on, let me let Mika go back inside. And the seller didn't want to accept right now. They wanted to hold off just in case they get other offers where they're able to close a lot faster, which I understand because maybe they need the money to purchase another home as well, the same way that we did. So we're still looking. That house is still on the market, but there's a couple of others that have popped up. Tomorrow we're gonna head back up north to see if we can find other properties. And there's a couple that we're looking at. Some of them have big lots that are like over half an acre, but some of them also look like they might be on a pretty steep slope. And if that's the case, then we don't know if that'll work out. There is one that we really like in the pictures, but I feel like it's so important to look at homes in person along with pictures, because sometimes in pictures they look a lot better than in person, and sometimes in person you can see a lot of like things that need to be fixed or things that you like or don't like. So anyways, all of this has made me feel a little bit more scared because it feels like time is ticking by before our house closes, and we still have time, but just the uncertainty of not knowing which home we're purchasing makes me feel a little bit more like, I don't know, it just makes me feel a little scared. So I'm just gonna walk around and show you what serendipity looks like right now. I still need to come in here and clean. I haven't been doing that, mostly because I've been focusing on editing. I don't know if my camera is straight or not. I've mainly been focusing on editing. I've been focusing on the inside of the home, but I have started to come out here just to spend a little bit of time amongst the plants, because I feel like that always makes me feel a lot better. And everything is changing so quickly too, because the nights are starting to cool down a little bit more than they were before. Hold on. Yes? I'm gonna start off in Citrus Lane because it is looking so beautiful. Just look at this view. I love it. And this basil, okay, the first thing is this massive basil plant. It's in a 25-gallon container. It started off as a little start that I just let grow, and I haven't been chopping it back because the bees love it. So I just felt like I should leave something for them, and we're still harvesting from it once in a while, but the flavor has definitely changed. A basil that I really want to grow once we move up north, if I'm able to find it, is a Mazel basil, because I've seen Laura from Garden Answer mention that one a lot, how even when it flowers it still has a really nice taste, whereas this Genovese basil is very productive, it grows well and it's beautiful, but once it starts to bolt or flower, the taste gets maybe like a little bit more bitter and it's not quite so good for cooking anymore. So a Mazel basil doesn't do that. I haven't been able to find any starts here where I live or seeds online. I think you actually have to buy the plant itself. So that's what I plan to do once we move north, hopefully. The citrus trees in Citrus Lane look so beautiful. The first one is a Valencia Orange, and it has a little bit of sun damage. You can see some of the foliage right there, and then you can also tell based on some of the fruit. You can see it's not too bad though, not too crazy, and I know that once it starts cooling down, it's going to start making new growth that will hopefully make all of the older scorched growth basically disappear. And the reason that it has scorched a little bit is because it's up against a cinder block wall. And that's something that I honestly just can't change just because I have very limited space. I mean, you can see right here, we just have a little bit of room to walk through. So all of the trees, because they get so wide, they kind of have to be up against the walls or up against the house. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to get through. And I feel like it just also creates really pretty pathways. But during the summertime, the citrus trees definitely suffer a bit because it's so hot. Although I will say that even though they have some scorched foliage, overall they still look pretty good. Over on this side, before I keep walking forward, is my Mexican cream guava, and this is the biggest guava tree ever. This tree was a newer planting because I spent forever trying to find this variety. I remember somebody mentioning it on YouTube one time. And after that, I started searching for it nonstop, and I finally found it at a nursery after so long. So this tree produced last year. This year, it hasn't produced anything at all. It hasn't even tried to flower, honestly. So what I'm going to do is, but you can see all the new growth that it's pushing out now that the days have started cooling down. So what I want to do is propagate this tree, make several of them. That way, whenever we go up north, in case it does get too cold during the winter time, I still have a couple of backups. Something I'd like to point out is look at how smooth this trunk looks. And the reason for that is because as the tree continues aging and gets a little bit thicker, it kind of sheds off some of its older bark because it widens a bit. And then throughout the year, it'll get some of its bark back. And then as it continues growing, it'll do the same thing where it sheds it, regrows it, sheds it, regrows it. And then this tree right here is a Burgundy Plum. And somebody asked me in a comment whether having it right next to the air conditioning unit damages the tree at all, and whether it would be better off being farther away. And it would. It certainly would. But as you can see here, all the containers are right up against each other, so there's really nowhere I can move it to unless I move the guava over, and then the guava would get scorched. And this tree was kind of a last minute purchase online during the winter season when they had a lot of bare roots. I just wanted to try it out because at the time I had lost my Santa Rosa plum, so I wanted to try another plum tree that would grow well here in the low desert where we don't have a lot of chill hours. And ultimately my plan was to move it to another portion of the yard where it wouldn't be quite as damaged. And as you can see, half of the tree looks good, and then the other half, which is the half that's right over the AC unit, is what's really getting scorched because all the hot wind is constantly hitting it. As it cools down and we don't use the air conditioning quite as much, the tree starts to leaf out again. You can start to see some of it happening right here. But there definitely is some damage that happens because it is right up against the AC unit. My plan ultimately was to plant this in the new property in ground away from any sort of AC units because hopefully I would have a lot more space to work with. And the rest of Citrus Lane has varieties like the Cara Orange, which is this one right here, and the Moto Blood Orange. And the Moto Blood Orange is one that has not fruited for us in a while. I think since I planted it, it hasn't actually fruited, and I never really saw it flower very much, except this year, I guess it did. You could see one piece of fruit up there, but the fruit was up very high and up against the cinder block wall where it got completely scorched, as you can tell. But this is the tallest citrus tree that I have, I think. Look at how tall it is. It's massive, and overall it's pretty healthy. I feel like the rest of the foliage hasn't gotten quite as crispy as the Valencia Orange variety, but the tree itself definitely takes a while before it starts producing. Although I am very happy to see that there's a lot of new growth popping up. Look how pretty that is. And the leaves feel so much more textured and thicker. And I'm pretty sure that's not the rootstock because the graft is right here and it's growing from over here. So I think we're still good, but it definitely looks, no, I guess it's very similar to the older growth. It's just that this older growth seems a lot smaller compared to these leaves, which are a lot bigger. The next tree, the Cara Orange, produced quite a bit last year, but then this year we didn't get any fruit from it. And I've heard that can happen with citrus trees where maybe one year it produces an abundant amount of fruit and then the next year it kind of takes a break. So I think that's probably what happened here. And I was really excited about trying this fruit again because last year when I tried it, I felt like I wasn't able to harvest it at the perfect ripeness. So the fruit itself was really beautiful on the outside and it got to the point where it was just falling off the tree. but on the inside it wasn't quite as sweet or juicy as I would have liked. I felt like it could have used a couple more weeks of ripening on the tree, if not maybe even like a month or so, to get it to be perfectly sweet. The Valencia Orange that we tried, that one was amazing, but the Caracara Orange definitely needed just a little bit more time. But unfortunately the tree just wanted to drop it at that point, so we just ate it as it was, and it was still good, but I was looking forward to trying it this year, and unfortunately we didn't get to. So maybe next year, and maybe once I plant it up north. My plan is to put all of my citrus trees in ground up north and then give them winter protection, because it'll get too cold for them. It's a zone 8 and these grow well from a zone 9 and up. I don't know up to which zone, but I know that zone 9 grows them really good. In zone 8, the winters can get pretty cold, so I don't want to risk losing my trees. So the plan was to recreate Citrus Lane. This is my plan as of right now, okay? To recreate Citrus Lane and set up a cattle panel, sort of like little greenhouse over them, where I can cover them for the winter time, but still have them in ground. That way, during the summertime, I can uncover them and they should do well in the heat. The other idea that I had was to take them, put them in ground, and then just cover every single tree individually instead of covering them all as a whole. So we'll see. I haven't really decided fully yet, but we'll see. Most likely by the time we move up there, it's already going to be winter time, so I most likely will not be getting them into the ground at that time until the spring. So in the meantime, I'll just give them some protection or cover them up, or if we happen to have a shed, maybe put them in the shed or something. That way I don't shock them too much, and then just take them from the low desert where it's really warm and currently still very hot, and then just pop them into freezing temperatures. You know, I don't want to do that because I don't want to lose these trees. The Malabar spinach is insane. I should be eating this. I don't know why I haven't been coming out here to harvest it. This plant, it took forever to take off, and I remember trying so many times to grow this, to grow this vine, and finally it started taking off. And all of this is pretty much self-seeded from the original little plant that I had in that container. And as you can see, it's even trying to make more seed, which means that this plant is going to be here for a while, and it's one that I plan on leaving for the new homeowners, along with these other two 15-gallon containers. That way they can go ahead and plant stuff on this arch trellis. So as I'm walking you through, I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between whatever plants I see. So over on this side, there is the Frederick passion fruit, which is totally gonna make it. It's cooling down enough to the point where it's made it through the hottest parts of the summer. And look at all that new growth. This one I'm gonna leave behind for them, because I know that if I take it with me during the winter time, it's not gonna make it up there right now. And I'm not gonna have very much structure or stuff for it to grow. What is this? Is this a loofah? I don't know why the leaves up here looked really small, so at first I was thinking it might be cucamelon, but I think it might just be loofah. And this self-seeded for sure, which is good because loofah is one of my favorite things to grow in the garden. I love harvesting it. I know it can be eaten green and sauteed and cooked that way, but what I did last year is I didn't eat any of them. I just let them dry on the vine, and then I used them for kitchen sponges, and they worked so good. I just sort of sewed them up. I think I saw the idea from Brie Ellis, and I loved it. They worked pretty good, and then once I finally ran out is when I started buying the Scrub Daddies again. The other plant on this side of the trellis is the Triple Crown Thornless Blackberry, and look how tall these are. They're huge, and I'm sure that they're going to be super productive. I planted these not as a bare root, but as a potted plant from Lowe's, and look at these canes. They are humongous. So I'm definitely going to leave those for the new homeowners as well. That way they can go ahead and harvest whatever production they have, and the plant will be more established. So that one is in a 25-gallon container. This is the Lady of Shalott Climbing Rose. Well, technically it can be grown as a shrub rose or a climber, but I'm going to grow it as a climber, and I'm happy that it's pretty big by now. That way, whenever I finally plant it up north, I have a more established plant to work with. But my plan is to eventually purchase some more bare root roses and get them in the ground. And I personally love climbers more than shrubs. I just think that they add so much romance and whimsy and beauty to a space. Well, I mean, I guess any sort of rose adds beauty to a space, but climbers especially have my heart. This next citrus tree is my star pupil. This is the improved Meyer Lemon tree, and look at all this fruit. That is so much fruit, and you would think that it might produce a lot one year and then take the next year off, but this tree has not taken any time off since I planted it. It's been pretty happy in this spot. It has very, very minimal scorching, even though it's up against the cinder block wall, and so much fruit to give us every single year. It does this every single year. It just fills my heart with joy just seeing how much fruit this tree can produce. And it's planted in a 25-gallon container. Most of the trees that you see in Serendipity are going to be planted in 25-gallon containers. I have it linked down below. Along with a coupon code or discount code, I think, which took me forever to get from the company. But these containers have worked so well for planting all of my fruit trees. I prefer the 25 gallons over the 15 gallons, but the 15 gallons are definitely a little bit easier to move around. Although the 25 gallons, I haven't really had to repot many of my trees or anything. This next tree is the Merkott, the Merkott Semi-Dwarf Mandarin. It struggled a bit for sure because it was a newer planting this year, but there's new growth popping up, which is really good. And then look at that trunk. Oh, I see some suckers. So whenever I see those, I just pop them off. The one that was up here, I could have left, but I just want to keep it as clean as possible for a couple of inches. That way it's easier for me to see where the graft is at. Then once the tree gets a little bit thicker, like the trunk, if it wants to start creating a couple more shoots up here, then I'll go ahead and let it do that. But because the graft is so high, I just don't want to risk accidentally letting some of the rootstock grow. The tree after that is the ruby red grapefruit. This one is also very, very tall. But what I love about this tree is that all of its height and width is very well spread out. It's very even. As you can see, it's very, very lush, very wide. And last year, this one gave us so much grapefruit. But this year, it took a year off and only gave us maybe one. There might be maybe one more hiding somewhere, but so far I've only been able to find one fruit. Whereas last year, it gave us so much grapefruit. The grapefruit itself was huge and it was super juicy. I loved this fruit. I loved it. It definitely tasted way better than any grapefruit I've ever bought at the store, which is usually a lot more sour. This one had a lot more sweetness to it, but definitely super, super juicy. And look how tall it is. And there's also very minimal scorching despite being up against a cinder block wall. Recently, I showed you guys this grapevine, which was actually a rooted, I don't know, maybe like a little piece of the grapevine that I pruned off and fell into soil and it started rooting. And then I finally transplanted it. It started dying back because it didn't get water for a while. And then finally I realized it, moved it over here. And then now it's starting to re-sprout, which is really good. That way I can replant some of my grapevines in the new property. The next tree is an apple tree. This is an Anna apple. And it took me so long to finally get an apple tree to survive the summer in the low desert. Every other apple tree that I've planted that I've lost has always happened during the summertime. I don't really lose trees during the winter time because our winters in the low desert are so mild that it doesn't get very cold at all. But it's the summer that usually takes plants out because the heat here is ridiculous. And look how gorgeous it is. Oh, it's so pretty. This next tree, I don't remember what variety it is. Dancy Semi-Dwarf Tangerine. This was also a new planting and look how much it's grown. It's beautiful. The next one is a Mexican thornless lime, also doing fantastic. Then a clementine. That one hasn't grown quite as much as some of the other ones, but it's looking good. And then there is the desert gold peach, looking pretty good. The leaves are a little bit more on the olive side just because it's been so hot and the peach trees tend to struggle a little bit more with the heat, but it's still hanging in there. And it's put on quite a bit of growth. Back when I had the shade cloth still up, everything looked so green, so luscious, so beautiful. Once the shade cloth came off, that's when most of the scorching started happening because the heat waves that we were having are just like record-breaking heat waves. And I feel like every single year here in the low desert, we have more and more record-breaking heat because it's heating up every single year. a lot more than the prior year, and I can see that in my trees. So I was so scared that I would lose a good chunk of my plants after the shade cloth came down and we were doing the showings, and so I couldn't set it back up anymore. But thankfully that wasn't the case, and a lot of my trees are thriving again. They went through a couple of weeks, maybe even like a couple of months of not looking the greatest, but they're starting to bounce back. You can still see some of the damage, but overall the fact that they're still alive is huge. And I think a big reason for that is just the watering. They're getting watered 4 times a day right now on slow drip irrigation, because there's no way I can come out here to do this myself. This is a blueberry bush, a sunshine blueberry bush, and it's hanging in there. It definitely was on its way out because I accidentally didn't have it hooked up to water, and for about 3 weeks or so it was just in survival mode, getting whatever moisture was left in the soil. And then one day I came out here and I realized that this blueberry bush, the peace rose, and the pineapple guava and the owari satsuma all did not have drip irrigation set up. And at that time we had temperatures of like 115, 116, 117 day after day, and they still somehow managed to survive long enough for me to figure out that they weren't getting any water. And then once I reattached the drip and put them back on the watering system, they started coming back. So the sunshine blueberry is pushing out new growth right here. The peace rose literally started blooming right after it was set up on drip. And then this pineapple guava, I thought for sure was most likely gone, because look at the top. It dropped nearly all of its leaves. And so I kept coming out here and checking the stems, but they still have some bend to them. And as you can see, there's still a couple of leaves hanging on there. But what really gave me hope was seeing new foliage starting to pop up a few weeks after being set up on water. And then there's also new growth from the bottom, which is really good. So that tree is totally going to make it, but it's going to take a while for it to recover, unfortunately. And oh my gosh, I was so mad at myself when I realized that I wasn't giving them any water, because we were so busy for so long that I wasn't coming out here to check on my plants. And then once I finally realized it, I felt awful, but thankfully they're still hanging in there. This owari satsuma definitely has a lot of scorching going on, but I think it's going to recover, hopefully. It is one of the trees that wasn't in the best condition when I planted it, but as it continues cooling down, I'm sure it's going to look a lot better than it does right now. And then the Paraffianca pomegranate's just doing fantastic. It didn't produce any fruit this year though. Earlier when I had the shade cloth up, I noticed that it was flowering very sporadically, and there was a few blooms here and there, but none of them really turned into fruit, and it was significantly less flowers than last year. So I wonder if the shade cloth had anything to do with that. Now that the shade cloth is off, I'm noticing that there is a lot more growth coming out, but the growth that it had when the shade cloth was up was a lot bigger than the new one, and now it seems to be pushing out a lot more leaves, but they're smaller. There's just a lot more quantity of them. This next tree is, I think, also an Anna apple. I had an Anna apple and a golden Dorset apple tree, but I think my golden Dorset apple tree didn't make it. I think I had 2 of those. I lost it during the summertime. So my plan as of right now is to take 1 apple tree with me and leave 1 of them for the new homeowners, just because I don't need 2 Anna apple trees, and then that way I can plant other varieties as well. This next tree is the Pakistan mulberry, also in a 25-gallon container. And I chopped it back quite a bit recently just because it was really windy, but it's already starting to grow back. So I know that in no time at all, it's gonna put on all the foliage that I chopped. Then this is a navel orange, also looking pretty good. But I'm starting to see, whenever I see growth starting to pop out from the rootstock, I always take it off because I don't want it to overpower the grafted variety. The Florida Prince Peach is looking a little bit stressed out just because it's been so hot, and there has been quite a bit of dieback in some areas, but it's it's starting to push out new growth now that it's starting to cool down, which is good. That's the trend that I see every single year, especially with this peach tree in particular. So I'm excited to get it into cooler weather where I can get it in the ground. And I totally want to keep it very close to this size just because I think it's so cute. And during the spring, whenever it blooms, having a miniature peach tree full of pink blooms just looks like something out of a fairy tale. I love it. The Santa Rosa plum is also looking pretty good. It has some scorching, but it also has a lot of new growth, which is very green and very pretty. This tree was looking a lot better when the shade cloth was up for sure. Once the shade cloth came off, it did start burning almost immediately. But now that the days are cooling down, it should look a lot more green. The following trees are the red Malaysian guava, which I'm thinking about leaving for the new homeowners just because it's not my favorite fruit. It is a really beautiful tree though. But because I don't know what size of property we're getting, I know it's for sure not going to be acres yet. That's the ultimate goal, but I feel like we got to work our way there just because properties up north are so expensive and there's not a whole lot to choose from the way there is here. Like if I wanted a couple acres of land here in the low desert, we could totally find something like that. But up north, it's a lot harder to come across properties for that within our price range. They are just far too expensive for us right now. So hopefully someday my YouTube channel takes off for something and I'm able to purchase like a larger property with maybe 1 or 2 acres, because even that for me would be a ton. Here I have like less than 2,000 square feet worth of growing space for my whole backyard. That includes all the sides of the house and everything. So if I had an acre or 2 acres, for me, that would be like having a whole city to grow plants in. So anyways, whatever property we get, it's probably going to be a couple thousand feet bigger than the current property that we have right now. But something that I'm looking at is hopefully being able to garden in the front and in the back, because here, our whole front yard, we can't really do anything to because we live in an HOA, which means that the landscaping, everything has to be approved. Everything has to look a certain way, which right now is basically rocks. And if I had it my way, I would just turn it into a beautiful little tropical paradise. So hopefully on the new property, I'm able to do something like that. But the reason I'm saying that is because since I have so many trees and I want to get a lot of them in ground, and I also want to be able to plant more, I don't want to take any with me that I'm not 100% in love with. And the red Malaysian guava, while it is beautiful, it is not my favorite fruit. It tastes good if it's picked at the right time, at the perfect ripeness, because otherwise it can be a little bit more, I don't even know what the word is, but it just has a little bit of a weird taste to it. The next tree is a Frantoio olive, and this one is beautiful, gorgeous, stunning. I did kind of buy it on a whim though. I saw it at Lowe's and it was very inexpensive, so I figured I would just take it home with me. And I think I just have to look up how to process olives, because in case it does produce something, that way I know what to do with the fruit. Because I know we can't just eat it fresh, you know, we still have to process it and maybe pickle the olives or something. But if I feel like it's something I can't do or that I don't see myself actually following through with, then I might leave the tree with the new homeowners. The next tree is a clementine. And look at all the fruit. Oh my goodness. This fruit looks beautiful. Imagine it just being full of little orange cuties. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait for that sight. This tree was one of the original trees. It struggled for a long time because it was planted too deep, and this year it's finally making up for all the other years that it was in recovery mode. The Arbor of Star Jasmine looks stunning. Look at it, it's so full. It took me a few years to get it to this point. And now the homeowners that purchase this home are going to get to enjoy all of that labor. Just look how stunning it is. I really wanted a fairy tale entrance into the heart of serendipity, and I feel like I finally got it. And now we're moving, so these peace roses are starting to come back. These were also not set up on drip irrigation, and I didn't realize it until maybe like 2 weeks ago. And after I set them up on water again, they started bouncing back, which is good. And then the same thing happened with the Star Jasmine. I didn't realize that I had that set up on a different zone. So that one also took a while to start pumping out a ton of new growth, but it has now. Over here, the Bear's lime tree is looking fantastic. I'm still harvesting a lot of fruit from it, and there's still a lot left on the tree. The little Cotto avocado is still pushing out new growth, which is good. And you can see some of the older scorched leaves, which will hopefully be a thing of the past once it cools down a little bit more. Oh no, wait, no, I'm sorry, this is not the little Cotto avocado, this is the Carmen avocado. And then this next one is a little Cotto avocado. This one looked very similar to the Carmen not too long ago. You can still see some of the burnt leaves over there, but up here you can see all of this new growth, which is beautiful. It's getting more acclimated to the temperatures now, whereas this one is barely starting to, because you can see the size and the shape of the older leaves, whereas all of the new foliage is going to start to grow a lot smaller, a lot thicker, and in bigger clusters. The dwarf Cavendish banana is looking fantastic. I don't think it's going to bloom yet. Usually this one blooms during the winter time here in Serendipity, and then we harvest the fruit the following summer. The fruit punch mango is massive. I don't know if that's the tallest tree in all of Serendipity, most likely, and it's doing great. It keeps pumping out new leaves despite the heat. I feel like this one just doesn't mind the heat at all. And then this is the arch that leads into the orchard, or pretty much from the porch into the garden. And it has Eden Climbing Roses on this side, James Galway Climbing Roses on the other side. And then over here is a Fuerte avocado. Oh my gosh, look how beautiful this tree is. Also in a 25-gallon container, and look how huge it's gotten so far. Back there, you can also see a part of the gold-legged loquat looking pretty good. And I'm not going to show you all of the garden, but look at the arches. Oh my gosh, I'm in love with those grapevine arches, and unfortunately they're going to be left behind, but I'll recreate them. I love them so much that I have to. And then the Don Juan climbing roses, which I planted in memory of my mom, are starting to bloom again. Look how beautiful. Oh my gosh. I'm so happy that the home buyers that are getting Serendipity are plant lovers too, which makes me feel a lot better about leaving things behind like my mom's roses, because these roses are just so established at this point and so big. They've made their way up the trellis and basically created the look that I was going after for so many years that I don't have the heart to rip them out and replant them. I feel like those roses kind of cement the heart of Serendipity in this garden, and maybe the new homeowners will name it something else. I hope they do. I hope that they make it their own. But for me, it will always be the heart of Serendipity, and this will always be Arch Rose Claire, and it's something that I definitely want to recreate. I don't think I'll recreate everything exactly the way I did it this time around, but I'm going to take a lot of inspiration and a lot of what I've learned in this garden and redo it in the new garden using the knowledge that I have now. But look at this view. Look how gorgeous this looks. This view got me through a lot of really rough editing days because there is my desk, as you can see. So whenever it was really hot outside and I couldn't be out here, I was constantly looking up and out the window as I was editing my videos, because that gave me the motivation to keep on going. And just having this view was such a treat every single day. And now that the roses are starting to bloom, I'm so happy about that, because at least I'll get to see some blooms before we leave, which is good. And then the grapes also just look marvelous, and I'm so happy that I was able to harvest the fruit, at least for this year, because once I replant things in the new property, it's going to take a while before things like the grapevines start producing again. But at the same time, I'm also excited because it means that I'll be able to bring you guys along for the process from the very beginning until the very end. I was able to document a lot of the projects that I did here in Serendipity, but a lot of them I didn't, just because I would just come out here and do it on my own. And by the time I finally started documenting the projects, a lot of them were already a lot more established, and they were already a little bit more mature, and I want to be able to show you guys things from the very beginning, because hopefully that helps out beginner gardeners like myself to be able to follow along and to be able to see the growth in a garden. And with that said, I need to go inside because we have a really busy day today, but I wanted to show you Fig Alley, which is looking so beautiful. Oh my goodness. This is the Tropic white guava. Look how tall it is. It's up there reaching the roof of the house. The next one is a Florida Prince Peach. I don't know why this one did not scorch nearly as much as the other one, even though this is literally a graft of that peach tree. I took a little portion of it and I grafted it onto a rootstock of another dwarf peach that wasn't good for my area. I guess there is a teeny tiny little bit of burning, but not anything like the other one. This is a lemon guava. Look how beautiful. And then the rest of Fig Alley is nothing but fig trees. So that's the garden update for right now. I need to go back inside though because I have a lot of cleaning to do. I gotta get ready for tomorrow when we go up north. I honestly have been enjoying going up north whenever we can to look at homes, not only because of the excitement of possibly securing one of those homes, but also because the weather there is just so much better than it is down here in the low desert, that it makes me feel like, yes, I know that for a fact we're doing the right thing by moving up there. I feel like I'm just gonna have way more opportunities to garden, to be able to film content, because one of the main reasons too, wait, let me go back outside because I don't want to get copyrighted. One of the main reasons that I want to move to a cooler climate, and I'm not moving anything crazy, here in the low desert, some areas that were 9B are now considered 10A after the whole growing zones were updated. And during winter, it does not get cold here at all compared to other areas. Our winter feels like other people's, I don't know, maybe even summer and fall. The temperatures don't drop very often. And during the summers, it's just been heating up more and more. And one of the main reasons I wasn't able to film a lot of the garden projects whenever I was out here working is because it would get so hot that all of my gear would overheat and shut down. So then I would just have to do the projects and salvage whatever footage I could, or sometimes I would just have to come out here and work without being able to film any of it because it was just so hot. Whereas up north, I feel like I'm gonna have more opportunity to document these projects because I'll be able to use my gear a lot more without the fear of it overheating or shutting down or breaking down because it's so hot. So that's something I'm looking forward to. It's something that I'm so excited about. And I've been looking forward to living in a cooler zone for a while now. I feel like the heat of the low desert has gotten to me for quite a bit and I've been powering through, but my husband and I both have passions that take a lot of time outdoors, and with it being so hot here, it's just harder to do what we love. He loves biking, I love gardening, and so being up north is going to give us the ability to do more of that on a more regular basis, whereas here we're just kind of holed up inside the house throughout all of the summer. And up north, I know that we might get some really cool days, we might get some really snowy days, but I can work with that. I feel like I can work with that. So anyways, that's the garden tour for today. I can't wait to give you another tour soon and hopefully an update that we've found a property. Fingers crossed. Wish me luck for tomorrow.